Hi, I'm Bryant Gauthier, VP of Legal Technology, and I'm here today with Kevin Albert, eDiscovery technician and expert. And I've known Kevin now for, I think, 18 years or
Something
so.
like that.
Our paths have crossed in many different ways over the years.
That's right.
So I'm excited for you to be here.
Thank you.
And you have a really kind of interesting career in my mind of working in product as service, experience with the federal government. So why don't you give me a high level background of your career and what got you into eDiscovery? Why don't you
Sure.
start there?
Yeah, I started actually in IT. I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers right out of college doing help desk type work. And at the time, they were going to sell us to HP and they were going to outsource us. And there was rumors we're going to lose our jobs. And I didn't want that as a young kid. And so I was talking just sort of offhand once to the head of the forensics group. And he was like, we are looking for young, enthusiastic kids who are willing to travel.
You were enthusiastic enough to make that.
Exactly. And I was like, I've never been anywhere. I'm excited. And
Uh-huh.
they were looking for hardware, software type people. And I was like, sure, I'll join your team. And I came over and then I turned into one of the roadwear forensics guys. And I did that for a few years.
And how many, do you have a list of how many countries you've been to?
I have been to 29 countries. I've been to now 43 states.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the 7 you haven't been to?
It's the 7 I haven't been to: Alaska, Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, and Montana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
I see a trip where you're going to go collect stuff about farm implements or Winnebago.
exactly. That was what I went to North Dakota for. And I was like, when I was there, I was like, maybe I'll just drive down from Fargo down to,
Sure.
like Mount Rushmore. And I was like, oh, wait, this is not near each other at all. And I was like, let's not do that.
Yeah, the only 4 states I haven't been to at this point is Alaska, Hawaii, Louisiana, and Arkansas.
Nice.
So
That's a little bit harder to do as one trip.
that's going to be one trip with an RV,
That's
and
right.
there's going to be a big problem at the end.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
besides, I know you've done forensics across the world. What keeps eDiscovery interesting for you? Because you've been doing it
For me,
for a
it's
while.
the data challenge, right?
Right.
And the constant change. I think when we started, we were just trying to figure out how to get data into the platforms, and it was just a matter
Sure.
of, we have all these weird new file types and all these new interesting things, and how do you bring in the phones, and how do you bring in forensic images? And then it turned into more of a monstrous data problem where we just had so much data we didn't know what to do with. And so for me, I just like the ongoing challenge. I was sort of at the beginning of the continuous active learning boom. We built a product when I was at HLP Integration that was Sentio software, which we ended up spinning off into its own company. And so I kind of was sort of helping to get, continuous active learning into the market a little bit,
Right.
Which was pretty exciting. And so for me, it was just kind of dealing with all the different weirdnesses that are having to do with our industry. And now as we go into the Gen AI world, it's kind of figuring out how we're getting from where we are today into that. I think when that sort of exploded on the market, everybody's like really excited and don't know what to do. And now the hesitancy has gone away. And so for me, it's the data challenge, that problem that we're solving. That is always, it's exciting to me.
Yeah, I think that what keeps it exciting for me too is
Yeah.
the lessons you've learned from all these different systems and data types and interactions with companies you apply to the next technology, and then you learn about that technology and figure out what's different, but a lot of it's the same.
Yeah, right. That's right.
It's interesting from a standpoint of thinking about the moment that's upon us, right? We're in this point, it's almost like I don't think I saw a post and then I responded to it about AI. And I don't think we've seen a technology this different for across industries, across our culture, across the world, since the adoption of the internet globally, as we do AI. And I think that's what's powering its adoption in legal. Do you have a sense of that as well?
Yeah, for me, the thing that's the most exciting about it is how quickly people are just willing to accept it, especially how slow we were to get continuous active learning, like to go from TAR to continuous active learning just to general
Right.
adoption. People were very hesitant, very afraid. There was so much math. And this, people have just sort of bought in. Like the adoption speed has been amazing because people are just comfortable with it. It's so easy. It makes sense to people, and people are just, using it the same way they would a Google search, where with, like continuous active learning was a hard way to get set up. You had to do all these things. With this, you just simply type in your query and it just sort of starts the process. And so I think it's amazing how quickly people have just been like, okay, I'm willing to try it.
Yeah, I
To
think
me, that's the piece that's fascinating.
yeah, I think you're right. It's the barrier to entry, right? There's all these platforms competing for people's attention,
Yep.
but it's also the it's in the zeitgeist, right? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to invest in the right company,
Yeah.
right? Outside of legal technology, and everyone, even people that aren't technologists, are asking about it. It's like
Yeah.
my mother, who's 75, is asking me like, "What do you think the AI is going to be able to do this, this, and this for me?" Or my friend is like, "Is it going to take over the world?" I'm like, "Please don't ask me that again."
Yeah.
Like it's a silly but not silly question. But you talk about the industry, and I want to bring this fact up because I think it's really interesting. You're part of this great team of people that put on, I think, a very interesting podcast. You want to talk about that?
Sure,
That
absolutely.
Tech Pod?
It's called That Tech Pod.
Okay.
We release every Tuesday, and we've done an occasional bonus episodes. So we've done, I think, 257 episodes
This
so
week?
far. No, total in time.
Okay.
But two of my friends actually started it originally in 2022. Originally, it started as kind of a thing to do in the pandemic because they were just sort of bored. I joined them, midway through the first year, and then one of our other hosts kind of stepped out of it, and I took over, and so now I'm one of the co-hosts. But we talk about everything
Brains,
from
the brawn, and the talent.
That's right, exactly. But we do everything from, we talk about eDiscovery, we talk about data privacy, cybersecurity, tech innovation, and we have a mixed bag, which I think is kind of a little bit different. Most of the other podcasts in our space are industry specific or company specific. We are technology agnostic. We're willing to talk to anybody. And so it kind of is interesting because people will share all kinds of secrets with us. They will, talk about their tech a little bit. And they also know that we are, we're going to get a little bit in the deep, with them. And so it's kind of nice because we'll go a little techno savvy and kind of get a little bit, but then also we try to make it fun and sort of ridiculous and all that. And so it's a nice conversation. They're also pretty short. It's not like a 7-hour Joe Rogan, experience. It's like
we're here for another 7 hours today.
Perfect.
We're going to bring in some ice cream.
Nice.
This is more about the people, right? Our conversations, because we know that what drives our whole industry are experts like you with, more than 2 decades of experience, worldwide, domination of forensics and such, product development. I mean, you don't see that with a lot of people that have been doing this for so long, right?
Yeah.
Plus the ability to harness that and turn that into something that's educational and informative with that tech bot. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Singing that's ILTACon, is there anything else you want to see while you're here or that you're really excited about?
For me, it's seeing how people are using the Gen AI. I think last year when we were, it kind of exploded on the industry, everybody had all these theoretical ideas of how people are really going to be using it, but nobody really had it in practice yet. Now it's sort of table stakes. Everybody's got it somewhere, and it's kind of interesting to see how people are deploying it. You're seeing a lot of document summary, a lot of folder summary, type of things, chat-based search. But then you have people who are actually using it to mark documents and do review. And so it's kind of interesting to see the different mechanisms of how people have implemented this. And so for me, I've been just kind of wandering around having that conversation, like, what are you doing with AI and how are you doing this? And, and that kind of thing. And kind of having those conversations, it's interesting to see. And so for me, it's just more and more of the same, but it's kind of interesting to hear how people are tackling the problem.
Right. I think that this is the first time in my career where my clients are coming to me and like, hey, what should I do?
Yeah.
Can you help me? Like proactively, like I'm not trying to talk to them about CAL or TAR, image identification or analytics or clustering tools. Like I've been doing this a long time, right? I've had all those conversations.
Yep.
What I think is interesting now is people want the technology. The corporations, we just had a conference, lunch conference in DC 2 weeks ago. And our corporate client said, well, we demand in our RFPs to know how they're using AI because they have to use it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of a top down from the clients, I think, requirement now. And it's going to just get more and more of that as we move forward. I think the other thing too is when I talk to clients about the AI, Plus presents for people is really using our team and then use cases, right?
Yeah.
Because what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because it's bespoke to the client and the industry and the law firm of how can we help you? How do we apply it? And what are we trying to do? Right.
Yeah.
Those things all have to be understood to be successful. I think that's with any technology, right? It's just another tool.
For sure.
And you have to implement it the same way you implemented some of these other things.
Yeah. I think also even some of the people who were afraid, again, 6 months ago now are realizing they have no choice. It's there. It's not going away. I work a lot with our government clients and, at the top of the year, they were like, we're not going anywhere near AI. And now everybody's like, what's your AI strategy? What are you doing? And so it's even amazing how fast that has turned. And as people are realizing you can have sort of, offline models, you can have a local copy. You don't have to necessarily, send all your data into the cloud. You can actually do it,
Right.
local to you. And so you can use AI, you can use it, without having to worry that, somebody's scanning your documents or it's being, incorporated in somebody else's model, and that kind of thing. And so it's kind of nice to be able to say to somebody, no, we've locked this down. We have a mechanism for you,
Right.
and so sure, if you want to, use it in the cloud and you want all these different bells and whistles, we can certainly do that for you. But if you're open to just simply dipping your toe in the pool, there's a way to do that too. And so I think that's been kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about the security aspect of it. It doesn't change anything at all for your end clients because you're using AI.
Yeah.
The standard is still the standard.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you don't let those documents out of the house.
Exactly.
No matter what technology you're using.
Exactly.
And, from a standpoint of what's next with AI, and it's going to be interesting to see, but I think we're going to see a lot of, the pricing is going to drop. People are going to accept it more.
Yeah.
And there's going to be other use cases that maybe we're not thinking about today. I always think about if you're going to use these advanced tools, you need to use people that have expertise of collecting data, understanding the data at first, because you're taking out a bunch of people throughout the process.
Yeah.
That can raise their hand and say, well, what about this?
Yep.
So you have to be really thoughtful on how you collect your data and understand your client's data footprint and the AI they're using or the other tools they're using. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think as mentioned though, the price is the big wild card nowadays. Everybody's all over the map and the pricing has just gotten, it's ridiculous. And so once people kind of figure that out and there's sort of just an industry standard, it's going to be either by the seat or it's going to be by the dock or it's going to be by the gig, I think that'll kind of shake things out a little bit. That's, in my mind, sort of the big wild west that's currently happening. But yeah, you're right. Once that, it just becomes an automatic nowadays. And no one's really pushing back as much as we had with some of the other technologies that, we're kind of slow to adopt in our industry.
Yeah, it's in some ways, I think for some people it's inevitable.
Yeah.
And some people don't know that yet. It's
That's right.
inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So, well, Kevin, I don't want to take up all your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely.
Please enjoy the conference. I hope it's good for you. And
Yeah.
we'll talk soon.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Yeah.